Well, I'm Peck.
What's up? I'm Chris. How you doing?
Well, today we're going to be talking about developmental. Does it help? Does it hurt? What are the pros? What are the cons? And would you do it?
Well, it's questionable. Depends how you're developing a talent, I guess you could say.
Yeah, that's true. If you're Tyler Breeze, the male model, ridiculous looking guy, you're not going to get very far. I don't watch NXT. I just kind of saw him on a blooper and was like, wow, this guy's pretty horrible. Why are you wasting a contract on him?
Well, don't you feel like the male model thing's been done so many times?
Yeah, we had Rick the Model Martel. We had Sylvain Grenier. We had The Miz is kind of doing a derivative gimmick of it now, but as an
Um,
actor, it's not good.
yeah, Scotty Riggs did it. Um, Even Mr. Wonderful to a degree.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah,
We've had bodybuilders, we've had Chris Masters, we've had
yeah.
just everything in under the sun that you could have with that.
And it just gets worn out and played out. So developmental, I mean, you could look at the 80s, the territories in a way were developmental. You could develop your talent in a territory by putting them on the first match of the night, or if they had a pay-per-view back then, which most of them didn't,
Right.
but just saying like that before the show started, kind of thing, like a warm-up match. That's how you learn and grow and become a talent. Nowadays,
It's a little different. We actually
yeah,
have essentially a televised OVW, a televised minor league, and it's kind of like I don't know. I question the wisdom of whether it helps or hurts, honestly.
yeah, it depends how you're used. I mean, first you could say the independents. They're like a developmental territory right there. All the independents. You're learning your craft. You're learning skills. You're learning how to be in front of an audience. You're learning what works, what doesn't work for you as a professional wrestler. So you build yourself there. Um, I think a lot of times it seems like with this NXT, I don't watch it, but what I've been hearing and people have been telling me is they take independent talents or talents from other maybe sort of major organizations either around the world or in the U.S., and they put them in that minor league type of system, this NXT, which I don't know if that's a good idea or not. Um, I think it kind of hurts you. I think it helps you grow professionally, but I think it's designed to help you. But in the long run, I don't
It
know if it
might hurt
does.
you because
Yeah.
we'll get into some of the more famous cases, but the other problem with it is it's becoming almost wasteful because WWE feels like we have this promotion, we can basically take a shot on anybody. And you read some of the guys they sign them to, they're all about the measurables. They're all about your size, all about your height, all about your weight still. So they're signing, like former Olympic lifters and everything. And while they may be great athletes in their own sport, that doesn't mean a damn thing about professional wrestling. You could be, the best pole vaulter in the world, but that doesn't mean you're going to be a good wrestler
Yeah, there's a lot of those cases that have kind of imploded
and
over
just
the
been
years.
awful. Like, I don't care if you're a track star. I don't care if you're. And the other thing is, like, a martial arts background doesn't necessarily help you because you have to train yourself a completely different way. Or mixed martial arts, it's like almost like, well, a lot of those fights are designed not to be exciting and for you to get out of them as quickly and with as little as damage and drama as possible. Plus, you have to learn how to not hurt your opponent.
Yeah,
So it's almost counterintuitive to actually think, well, this guy has a background in this, it can help. No, it really can't.
well, look at Steve Blackman, how that didn't work. Like, he was known for his martial arts or whatever, but he hardly did anything in the ring.
And he was the personality of a brick.
Yeah, I mean, he hardly did any martial arts in the ring. He did a very impressive spin kick on Kurgan in the Rumble that one year. I'm like, where has that been? And we never saw that again. I
Right,
think
and he had his whole bit with the trash cans and the drumsticks, but other than that,
he never did any martial arts, just a few power punches or whatever, and kicks here and there, but he didn't really show off what he could show off. And I don't know if that was, by design, or that was them telling him not to show off so much.
or
I
them
don't know.
remembering their wrestling company.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of factors into that, but yeah, I mean, if you are a different type of athlete, it doesn't mean it's going to be good for professional wrestling to transition yourself into wrestling. I don't
And
understand
there's a
that.
difference between people like that are long-term projects and people that you're stashing there for 3 to 4 months until creative has something for them and then calling them up to the main roster.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. Um, I think if you're a major star from another promotion coming in and you get placed in this NXT,
Do you feel like it's insulting?
I think it is, and
I do too.
I think it's an insult to you. It's saying you're not good enough and you're not ready, which you might just be.
And I give you two examples, the most recent ones, two of the most notable ones. I'm not going to talk about Kenta because I don't feel like he's going to be anything, and I don't know who he is that much. I don't like him.
Yeah,
He's
I've no.
basically a new kickboxer type guy. But Prince Devitt and Kevin Steen are two good examples. Kevin Steen, former Ring of Honor world champion, known through a lot of different, not necessarily minor league, but independent groups,
Yeah,
PWG, ROH, stuff like that. I mean, your casual fan may not know who he is, but somebody that really gets into it, ROH is still a really niche thing, even among wrestling fans. And but he's good. You can see that he has talent. He's a somewhat unique look because he's out of shape. And then you have Prince Devitt, who's more along the lines of a slightly smaller CM Punk. And I think Devitt in New Japan, his record speaks for itself. Yeah, he was never NGPW champion, but the way their roster is, they can afford to keep people in their divisional rankings. He was IWGP Light Heavyweight Champion for quite a while, and he had a very good reign, had some matches with a lot of their top guys, Okada, a lot of their other ones. And I just feel like I don't think he needs developmental. If he's already able to step into his tailor-made gimmick, A, why would you want to change it if it already works? And B, if he's that good to begin with, why do I need to see him in NXT? I don't care.
it just says you're not good enough yet, and it's insulting to you. I mean, on one hand, I think they see it as an honor that they signed him and they want to push him on that show, but I would want to be on SmackDown or Raw to start. That makes more sense to me
And
if I'm that good.
if you would just alter your show and care a little bit more about the wrestling, the Bellas don't need to yell at each other for 15 minutes. You could take 10 of those minutes and have him debut. Have an actual match. Yeah, it's going to be a squash, but you know what? We've seen those before. At least it's going to be on the main roster. And you can have somebody debut without having to go to this completely other American Hockey League level to see them, essentially. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
To see a
mean,
whole new cast of people, 85% of which are never going to make it.
it's insulting to them, and I think too, like, well, some people might say, well, they're an egomaniac if they want to just go right to the top and nothing's given. But at the same point, then what was all the time of Ring of Honor worth if you're just going to put them back in developmental? That just
And the other problem is, too, if they're going to change their name, I lost all of my recognition that I had because people knew me as something else.
yeah.
You have to put an addendum on everything, and there's so many different bad 90s children's names in NXT. Sami Zayn, Adrian Neville, Adam Rose. I don't know who any of these people are. I don't know what their gimmick used to be. How am I going to figure out, Seth Rollins? How in the world am I supposed to be able to keep all these people straight that I'd never heard of?
Yeah, I don't know either. I, I don't really know a lot of these guys, nor do I really care
Now,
that
granted,
much.
their ROH gimmick names were terrible and thought up in 3 seconds with magic marker, but still.
Yeah, I don't. It's tough because I don't know what this NXT. I mean, there people are raving and all about it, and it's so great, whatever. But it doesn't really make a difference because these guys are going to go to Raw. They're not going to do much, and it's going to be
Look
forgettable.
at you remember the Nexus a couple years ago, the big
Yeah,
group, Wade Barrett was the leader, and think about how few people were left from that. Wade Barrett, Intercontinental Champion, Ryback is his original gimmick and never went anywhere. All the other ones are, correct me if I'm wrong, they're all gone, right? Justin Gabriel, not on TV. That Sheffield guy broke his ankle, he's gone. I think there were only like two or three other ones, Husky Harris and whatnot. They're not really around.
Lasky Harris is that guy from the Wyatts.
Oh, Bray Wyatt, yeah, okay, so he wasn't part of the Nexus anyway. But like a lot of those other guys, where did they end up?
I don't know. I think some of them are so like cookie cutter that they just come and go and it doesn't matter. But see, this NXT thing, wasn't this on television? And wasn't it like a competition, like Tough Enough
Yeah,
almost?
it was, and that's
You
kind of
had
how
to.
they brought some people along. And like Brian came from there and a few other people, which is why I'm horribly against it to begin with because I don't like anyone that's come from NXT. I got to be honest, I've hated every single person that's developed through that. I don't know who they are,
Yeah, and
and I see them debut, and I am completely underwhelmed. Like I like the whole Shield thing, but when you split them up, I don't care anymore.
I guess WWE wants to mold them into what they want, and that's fine or whatever. But as a professional, I'm like, if I was going in there, I'd be like, no, I want to go like everyone else did, just show up on Raw or go to SmackDown or whatever. But I don't know. I think they just want to work on their product or whatever. But if NXT is so good, then they need to make Raw better. If it's better
Yeah,
than
I think
Raw.
it speaks more to how poor the quality of WWE is if people are saying this is better. If your minor leagues are better, there's a problem with your professional team, essentially.
Well, here's what I wonder too: are they going to tour NXT? Are
No,
they?
they're
Are
only
they?
running them out of that university, I think, still.
They're not going to like try to compete with the Indies because that could be like WWE's version of the Indies in a way. It's their own independent kind of company. But I guess it would have happened a long time ago with the OVW and whatever else they had.
It was basically the idea of let's give OVW a budget sort of idea and just, run with it. And basically it's let's make a buck off of whatever we can, trademark these guys, sell their stuff at NXT, see if they're ready, move them up the promotion, and we've already made money off of them.
Well, isn't I guess the Florida thing? That's when NXT came out from.
Florida Championship
Yeah.
Wrestling, yeah.
Originally, though, like NXT was just like like a replacement for that ECW catastrophe.
Yeah.
And that's interesting.
Plus, it's also, this is kind of a side tangent, but isn't it also insulting to the guys that get sent down there to work with them? Like, R-Truth. You went from having a title shot at a pay-per-view in DC against Cena, and now you can't get on Raw to save your life, and you're working with, I'm sorry, essentially jobbers.
Well,
No one cares about the little guy with the afro. He's not going to go anywhere. No one cares. No one.
I think it's one of those things where it's kind of a compliment and an insult depending how you look at it. You be a good hand to help the younger guys get trained, but at the same point, you're training the guys that are going to take your position. So I don't know how good that is.
Essentially, and being put on an equal footing with them, only to give your veteran aspects of dealing with life on the road and whatnot. You're really not helping them.
Well, I think these competition shows just hurt the product in general. Like NXT is sort of a competition show, but they've kind of gone away from that.
Well, they also leave out a lot of stuff because they don't show the fans what you need to be learning from a craft. You don't get the charisma, you don't get the psychology. All you basically get is, do you have the cardiovascular shape to jump over the barrels, to run the ropes, and everything like that? Can you do the drills? But not, can you actually have a match with someone? Can you call a match with somebody? The fans don't get to see any of that, and it just cheapens it.
I think it does to a degree, and I also think that these competition type shows, like the Gut Check, like Tough Enough, they ruin the product in a way. TNA is a great example of how Gut Check did nothing for it.
No, and it also made the management of TNA look like we are so bad at evaluating talent that I can't look at these two guys having a match. I can't pick one that's good or bad. I need the fans who are not in the business to tell me whether they like them or not in a predetermined match. How in the world is that supposed to work? It's not American Idol. It's not... Yes, wrestling is an art. It is a performance, but it's not a song. It's still an athletic competition in some ways. The fans can't decide which of these guys is going to have a future. They don't know.
I know. I think these competition shows hurt. I mean, back to TNA, the Gut Check. Who the heck really came out of that except Samuel Shaw, and that's left. I think just Samuel Shaw.
I believe, yeah. Everyone else, I think, is gone. Was Melendez part of that? No, I don't think he was.
Yeah, it didn't help anybody. Brian.
No, Bad Bones was part of that, I think.
Yeah.
He got on one night only.
But he's another one, like the Bad Bones guy. Okay, we watched him in that Battle Bowl show.
He was useless.
Yeah, and he did that goofy cruiserweight action when he's like a big guy. He did that
Well,
goofy
I don't have a
cruiserweight.
problem with that. He has to do something to get over, because all he did was look like a midget A-Train. I didn't know who he
It was he just looked bad for himself, but he was a good partner for Joe. But back when it Gut Check, when they had Adam Pearce on there, that was insulting him. He's a multi-time world champion.
In NWA, yeah.
Yeah, why is he coming on a competition show just to prove himself? He doesn't need to prove himself.
Why couldn't they have just had him debut like they
Exactly.
did with Desmond Wolfe and go after somebody big? Desmond Wolfe could have been huge, and his matches did not suffer. They were fine.
I think
until he got sick.
Yeah, and he was a victim of circumstance, but they still kept him when Hogan and all that came in.
Yeah.
But he did get sick, and that kind of hurt him. But that's a great example of how to bring in someone. Desmond Wolfe. They booked him really well. Went after Angle. He was his own guy, almost the top guy right away.
Yeah.
And that's what you need to do. And so when WWE would bring in like people like this Kenta guy or whatever, and that Prince Devitt, I guess I haven't seen either one wrestle. I mean,
you watched Devitt. Remember we watched him and Hiroshi Tanahashi?
Oh, okay.
The guy that beat him with the frog splash?
Oh, yeah. These guys are decent, or beyond decent, I think. I haven't watched Kenta, I don't know. So why aren't they just showing up on Monday Night Raw? I think it's one of those things. It's all the ego. It's all that we want to create our own star out of this guy or whatever. And sometimes you just gotta let them ride
But they're
naturally.
not there. If they're robbing every other promotion and whatnot, it's like, what, I'm going to forget where this person came from? I mean, obviously, you get everyone from somewhere. Nobody just walks into WWE and gets a job.
Fans never forget, man. They all know where you're coming from.
They
where you've
won't
been.
let A-Train forget that he was not Lord Tensai, that he was A-Train, and they chant Albert. They just don't forget. They
I
don't.
know. Well, it's interesting. I think a lot of times, these promotions, they get, the idea of we have to develop more talent. We have to sign whoever and keep working with them and stuff. And TNA is like that too. They had OVW. I don't think they have OVW anymore.
No, I think they might have lost that.
But they were kind of doing the same thing with the Gut Check guys, sending them down there. And I kind of get that, but you don't even need to have the Gut Check. Just send them down there when they're ready. Have them come up.
Yeah.
You don't need to publicize that that's even a
That
part
they're
of TNA.
that green that we
Yeah.
have to audition them, even though they're working in other promotions. It's not the same.
That helped no one and wasted so much precious TV time.
Another example of someone that suffered from the whole minor league label. Think about Ethan Carter
Yeah.
from TNA. I mean, the guy got completely trashed when he was in NXT by fans. They didn't like him, and WWE didn't like him. He was Braden Walker.
Okay.
And he wasn't terrible. Or no, I'm sorry, he was Derek Bateman. Braden Walker was someone else. I don't know who Braden Walker is, actually. I might have just made him up. But he was Derek Bateman. He worked the match with Ryback. I don't know if it was a squash or what. And when he debuted in TNA, automatically people knew who he was, and they're saying this guy sucks, he was in NXT, blah, 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 blah. It's like, hey, why do you care that much about a minor league wrestling promotion? I'm not talking about TNA in this case for once. And, it actually hurt his career when they repackaged him and they were attempting to push him. And I got to be honest, when we first saw him, I thought, all right, at least he has a look. He might have some potential. Let's see what he can do. And you know what? Honestly, he's acquitted himself pretty well. Everyone else in the company has pretty much embarrassed themselves to this date, and this current sinking ship thing they have going on, He's been okay. I really can't complain about him. But again, it's like, we know who you are because you were in this thing. The larger WWE fans, there's more of them. And I just feel like it kind of unfairly pencils you into something you're not. It kind of makes you your gimmick, which isn't right.
Yeah.
Like, look at everyone, how they look at Low-Ki. They don't remember how Low-Ki used to be. Even though, Taz and Tenay remind you all the time, they think, hey, that's the guy they had dressed as a Power Ranger that never won a match.
That was, Low-Ki is pretty wasteful.
He's talented.
Talented, I think...
Limited in use, though. That's the
that's the correct word. And it's like you're hesitant to say that... It's hard to... I would not put him in the same class as, like a Benoit Malenko or any of those guys.
No, not at all.
Brian Pillman or Steve Austin. He does like that martial arts shtick, and he does the flipping and flying, which is great, but he might be like
He's a less talented Tajiri.
Yeah.
That's a good example, because Tajiri could do a lot of other stuff.
Well, the thing is, too, with him, I think what he's there to do is help train the newer talent and work with them, which is fine, but he's not, like, if I was a professional wrestler, he's not the guy I'd be looking to for advice. I mean, his style and all that is completely different from mine.
Right, and that's his whole thing. You're not going to be able to learn anything from his specific gimmick or anything else.
So it wouldn't help you. But another thing is that Gut Check, I believe Brian Cage was on that.
I think he was, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a nice looking body, but then another problem is they act like he's a cruiserweight, and that hurts him too. He's a big guy, he shouldn't be flipping and flying.
Well, I don't have a problem with... If the whole thing is that there are no limits, I don't have a problem with that. I just have a problem of, is it at least smooth? Yes, you can do it, but does it look well enough? Can you have a good match? Do the fans actually care about you? You could go out there, I mean, look at some of the guys that go out there and they do all the flips and everything, and it's like, the fans have no reaction at all.
True, very true.
And then there's guys that go out, they wave their arm, and they get, the crowds to chant and everything. So it just kind of depends.
It does.
It's a combination of stage presence, physical presence, and a lot of other things, and it's just kind of a matter of who are they going to like and not.
A lot of factors, and I just don't think a lot of, there was always a developmental system, and they'd have articles about it, maybe show you some footage, but they wouldn't really talk about it too much.
And that was kind
years
of good
ago.
because it
I
kind
think
of
it
kept
was.
it as a surprise, too.
Yeah.
Because you didn't know, okay, this guy's going to be getting called up any week, I'll be seeing him, and then you're not surprised.
And it almost goes to overexposure of the business. It's too much behind the scenes exposed. And I think, yes, I think we need to go back to covering some stuff up a little bit.
I mean,
Jeez, give us a
I
surprise.
get that they're coming more with the entertainment aspect, especially with
Yeah.
WWE dropping the words, making more of a point to emphasize entertainment, and then, putting shows like Total Divas on. But the problem is, you have to eventually at least pay kayfabe some lip service. A little bit. You can't pull the curtain back all the way and show you exactly how everything's done.
Oh, yeah.
And you can't take all these inside shots about booking people and height and everything. Like, you gotta step back and just let things be a little more, I guess, unreal for the fans.
I think so, too. I think you're right. It just depends.
And, like, the minor leagues, honestly, as a fan, I don't want to watch it. I don't care.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah, some of these guys might be great, but I'm taking the risk of getting involved in someone that never might become anything, no matter how good their matches are. I may have to, look in Canada to find this guy's matches when NXT releases him.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just not worth getting that involved with.
And it just goes back to where, like, when you're a fan and you want to get invested in something, I wouldn't invest in a minor league promotion, per se, like this NXT. It's great to watch or whatever, but
You'd rather see a finished product.
Exactly, and I'd rather see, if that's going to be the end-all, be-all, then we got a big problem, because what's wrong with Raw and SmackDown, They're just giving you false hope, because Raw and SmackDown is not going to be like NXT. It's a different brand, but it's getting you excited, but it's giving you false hope, because it's not going to be that good when you watch these guys in the main show. To a degree. No, I'm not saying that these guys won't prosper and be a great talent, but you're not going to get the quality matches that you do in...
And I think a lot of them honestly top out. I don't think we see a lot of these guys getting quite as far in the business as they thought they would.
Mm-hmm.
We see a lot of guys, and this isn't a criticism, I'm glad they got to this level, because there aren't that many people that can say, I want an Intercontinental title, I want a United States title. But the problem is, if you don't get past that, and the company invested all this money in you and everything, you're just kind of stuck in this Del Rio, well, not so much Del Rio, he always got title shots, but you're stuck in this whole Miz, Sheamus, what do we do with you kind of route, where you've been out of the world title picture for 2 years, and you're completely irrelevant almost. I mean, you're just kind of there, and you're just kind of waiting for the Intercontinental title to get dropped in your lap again.
God help us, huh?
And they won't let go. That's the other problem, too. The old stars are still making and directing more of the money. And in Cena, too, he's been there 12 years. I mean, that makes him a long-term veteran. And they're still not willing to step things aside, even when CM Punk outdrew him and outsold him. So it's a matter of, I don't think Vince has the trust in the new guys. And honestly, based on what I've seen, I don't necessarily think that he should.
True. It's just interesting to see how the business changes and what... I think we go back, this is even a good topic, overexposure, too much exposed of the business. They love to do that.
And is NXT and all of this kind of idea, is this going to end up being more of a gimmick and it's going to burn out after a few years, or do you think it's just going to keep going and we're just going to get to the point where it's blatantly acknowledged as fake?
I think it's the second one, yeah.
I hope not, though.
I think the problem is, it's just like, as a wrestler, it's like, well, you're trying to do the best you can, and you're trying to, really know your craft and develop your craft, but at the same time, it's like, oh, I'm not good enough to make it to the minor leagues, and it's just showing you, like you said, it's fake. It's even making it more fake than it is. So
right,
it's tough, man. It's a double-edged sword, and
the whole point of it is the fans aren't supposed to see your struggles and your learning and everything. They don't want to see the labor. Just show them the baby. They want to see a finished product. They don't want to see you practicing and doing all this. I don't care about your training unless it's for a highlight video. I just want to see if you can go. That's all I want to see.
Very true. Well, I'm Chris.
I'm Peck.
Good night.